A number of areas, but I think the area where we have seen the biggest improvements, if you see, is one of them has been in the issue of bankruptcy and insolvency. People forget that ease of doing business is not just about the ease of entry; it's also about the ease of exit, and where it used to be a real problem. So, the bankruptcy and insolvency system that we have put in place over the last year or so clearly has dramatically improved the ease of doing business. It has also incidentally had, fed through, for example, the way we have been cleaning up our banking system, for example. I think there has been a genuine change in culture in this space by introducing a bankruptcy and insolvency process. We have allowed a cleanup of business failures, which is a natural part of an entrepreneurial economy, by the way. And we have also allowed the old culture of evergreening of loans, which used to be a major problem for our banking system. We are dealing with that. So I think there are many things, but I think I would like to highlight the specific issue of bankruptcy and insolvency, which has been a particular success of this government.
Sir, you very interestingly brought out the ease of starting a business in the country, and India unfortunately has slipped in this year's ranking as far as ease of entry is concerned. Also, certain other parameters such as enforcing contracts, construction, as well as getting electricity connection is something which India is still languishing behind. So what does the government need to do more to ensure that the gaps which has come up in this year's reports are addressed as we go into next year?
We take all feedback very seriously. So, if the ease of doing business is not up to speed, then we have to do something about it. So, all feedback is taken in the right spirit, and we will work on it. As far as enforcement of contract and the whole issue of, the judicial process, there is some things the government can do, and we do think that something needs to be done about this. But of course, to a large extent, many of these reforms will have to ultimately come from the judiciary itself. We cannot have a ease of doing business and a thriving economy and aspire to be an economic superpower if we have 33 million cases or 34 million cases stuck in the pipeline.
Sir, given the fact that a lot of the parameters in which India needs to work more fall under the ambit of the states, do you think that the center needs to work more to engage the states so that the rankings improve next year and these sort of deficiencies are taken care of?
Yes, of course. Many of these things need to be done at the state level, and this is recognized. And this was really the idea behind Prime Minister Modi's, construct of competitive federalism. The central government cannot, fix things on the ground. The old idea of, the commanding heights or planned economy top down, that no longer exists. We no longer even have a planning commission. So we expect these changes to happen at the ground level. And one of the ways of doing that is to create transparency and indices internally, ease of doing business internally, and so that states learn from each other, compare from each other, and have a healthy spirit of competitiveness. The Niti Aayog, as you may be aware, just a couple of months issued the first-time report, in looking into the ease of doing business, and it came up with all kinds of feedback. As I said, we take this seriously, and once we create a time series of them, i.e., next year or year after that, when we create another one of this, then we can look back and see if we improved or deteriorated, and hopefully over a period of time, we will create a culture of competition between the states. So yes, states need to compete, and that's the only way we are going to be able to fix many of the things at the ground level.
Sir, this government particularly has not shied away from reform, whether it is the GST on the insolvency and the bankruptcy code. We've had sweeping reforms across sectors. However, private investment has not picked up in the same way as it should have, given the fact that the government is investing so much in the economy. What does these rankings mean specifically for the private investment? Do you see them picking up as we go forward?
See, when you introduce a large number of reforms, some of them are painful. I mean, cleaning up the banking system, for example, means that credit is constrained. GST, is a very complicated reform. And when we introduced it, we were fully aware that there would be glitches in the beginning. I think, Revenue Secretary Adi has made this point repeatedly that, we will find out what's happening and in an adaptive way fix the glitches, and it'll take a few more months. just bear with us. But these are major reforms. These are once in many lifetime kinds of reforms. And, these reforms have been introduced with, a little bit of a slowdown in the economy. But let's face it, I mean, if we didn't do it with our macro indicators the way they are, inflation is under control, our current account is, in reasonable nick, foreign exchange reserves are at their, 400 billion at their highest ever. If we didn't do these reforms now, when would we do them? And we recognize there's some pain, but I think in many ways most of the pain is we are past the hump, and from here on the benefits will begin to flow. But just be a little patient, and good things will happen.
So one particular reform which has caught the imagination of the people is the goods and services tax. However, it failed to make the cut in this year's rankings because it was implemented later as compared to the benchmark when the rankings are calculated. How do you see its impact in the next year as well as in the medium term once GST is completely taken into the account in the economy, sir?
Look, the idea of GST is not to make people's lives more difficult. The idea was to make it simple and have one system. Now, we recognize that when we introduce something, there's going to be all kinds of unintended consequences. When you're doing a complicated thing in a complicated country in our size, in every country that this has been done, it has caused hiccups in the beginning. And we shouldn't be surprised that this has happened here as well. But the feedback is being taken. We recognize that on the first instant, there are many glitches, and they are being fixed on a war footing. So give us a few more months, and then this system will finally settle in. Also remember, even if we had people also have to get used to the way of doing this. This is a new way of doing things. Just give everybody a little bit of time to settle, the idea was to make it simple for everybody and to create an internal market. It was no benefit to anybody to do something difficult to complicate everybody's lives. A major difficult effort with attendant risks was attempted simply because the Prime Minister and the government at large believes that it is a step forward.
And so finally, what does India require to break into the top 50 as far as the ease of doing business is concerned? And what will be the government's guiding principle given the fact that we have now come into the top 100 to break into the top 50?
You're absolutely right. While it's a 30 rankings up, let's be very clear, we are still at 100. We have to get into the 50, and that's a target we have. And if you look at the rankings, the subcategories, it's pretty obvious what are the things we want to do. You mentioned one of them, which is a particular area of worry, which is enforcement of contract. And the government needs to work with the judiciary to solve this. And of course, you in the media need to highlight that this is a serious issue. I have, of course, written about the need for judicial and legal reform for over a decade. This is, in my view, the single biggest area of reform needed. The government should do its bit, the judiciary should do its bit, the media and public at large should also build up a debate on this issue.